Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Season 2, Episode 6 of Supergirl, titled Changing. Before I go any further, I just want to say that there will be spoilers in this review. This episode of Supergirl has a lot of carryover from the last one. In this episode, we get more of Kara's interaction with Mon-El not really listening to Kara at all, or really misinterpreting how he's supposed to act as an alien on Earth, or at least how she wants him to act as an alien on Earth. In this episode, we see him try to do his own thing, but doing his own thing clashes with hers. And we also get a carryover from the last episode when it comes to Alex, who is still dealing with a lot of personal internal turmoil when it comes to her dealing with coming out as a gay woman. And what she does in this episode is she comes out to her sister Kara, and she still has a lot of internal conflict because of it. She's very confused, she's very nervous, she doesn't really quite know what to do, or how to say certain things, or interpret how people are going to react. And in this episode, Kara does a pretty good job of reacting the best way she can. She's a little bit taken aback by this because I don't think she ever viewed her sister in that way or ever had any inkling that her sister was gay. But in this episode, she readily accepts it. She is okay with it. She is curious about it. She wants to know, how is Alex feeling right now? And Alex is feeling very conflicted, like I've said. She is dealing with all these newfound feelings when it comes to how she feels towards Maggie, and she doesn't quite know how to interpret them. And in this episode, I felt the best parts of it were the scenes between Kara and Alex. I felt that this relationship was very genuine, very heartfelt, very well done by the actresses. I thought they really gave a sentimental, beautiful depiction of two sisters really caring for one another. And for Alex, I felt like it was a very difficult episode for her character. Difficult in the sense, like I've said, with all of these new identity feelings that she's feeling, and also feeling a sense of rejection with these new feelings, which is very difficult for her. I think it's very difficult for anyone to feel rejection, specifically in the situation where you are experiencing these feelings for the first time. You have to, I guess, feel for her on that type of humanistic level, because I think many of us at home have felt rejected at one time or another, perhaps, and it's not a very good feeling. And I thought the actress who portrays Alex is doing a very good job with this storyline, and I'm very curious to see where she goes from here. And like I said, with Mon-El, he is really oblivious to what he is doing here on Earth. He starts this new job essentially being a hired thug to get money from other aliens, which I thought was very interesting that he would fall into that role and not understand the immorality problems with that. Also, he is trying, at least towards the end of the episode, he tried to be more of a hero, specifically showing up and fighting that parasite-type monster, and trying to be a hero in that respect, because I think that's what they are trying to mold him into, is a hero a la Superman, but perhaps not quite Superman because he is different. But as we saw at the end of the episode, he was abducted by Cadmus, which I saw coming from a mile away. I mean, it was pretty obvious as soon as he tried to help that homeless person that it was a trap. I mean, didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. But it's curious to see what they're going to do with him. Are they going to brainwash him? Are they going to implant some type of chip in his head, and now he's going to be essentially a double agent for them? In another area of the show, we got to see Jimmy Olsen suit up for the first time as the Guardian. This is where I had my biggest problems with this episode. It was the scenes between him and Wynn I thought were tonally completely out of place. I don't know when all of a sudden this situation became so serious that he has to right now become this vigilante, this crime fighter, this superhero, but it seemed to escalate very quickly tonally from the last episode to this episode, and it felt like I missed something in between that. It felt like there was more in there than we saw. because specifically when he showed up at the DEO after Supergirl's first encounter with this parasite monster creature, he seemed very urgent and had to have this suit right away, and he was desperate to help Kara, and I was looking, I'm like, Kara's been in a lot of fights before. If you just watch the first season, it's all there. But she's been in a lot of fights before, she's been in a lot of peril before, this is kind of her life. So to see him take that urgency right now, all of a sudden, very rapidly, I thought was jarring tonally for the show. And his interaction with Winn as well. I understand Winn's perspective in the whole thing where he wants to make this suit as perfect as he can because you don't want to give him a suit that's not going to protect him. But when it comes to the suit, it looks a little... it needs some work. I'll just say that. It needs some work. I'm not quite sure how much it's going to really protect him because as we saw in this episode, he still was kind of all beat up. I mean, I thought the whole purpose of the suit and the helmet was to prevent these types of things, but hopefully they do more modifications on the suit and it looks a lot better. It was looking a lot like the helmet or the suit that Diggle wears on Arrow, which I've never been a fan of. I don't understand why it's so difficult for some of the characters to get adequately good-looking suits or actively functioning suits in these shows, but that seems to be a problem still. And speaking of fighting with this parasite-type creature, it was kind of a monster of the week type thing, kind of just there as a plot device to have some type of conflict in the episode. The bulk of the episode was really about the characters, specifically Alex and Kara and Jimmy, and of course Mon-El. They were also able to use this monster or that monster storyline as kind of utilize the theme of global warming or climate change when it comes to our real world. So once again, they're incorporating real world political issues and themes into the show. It's becoming very much more apparent. I know there's a lot of people who are noticing it, not liking it. It really doesn't quite matter to me, because if they're going to have Supergirl essentially set in a close to real world to ours, I guess all of these issues are going to be transferable from our world to theirs. I really liked the character stuff in this episode. That's where the strength of this show is really this season so far. The characters, I felt, are stronger than last season. The acting is stronger. The plots, I feel, are a little bit stronger as well. And I'm really glad the show is starting to firmly plant itself and move forward. We are only in the 6th episode. There are going to be a lot more episodes to go. So hopefully things progress even in a more positive way. This has been my review of Season 2, Episode 6 of Supergirl, titled Changing. If you like this video, please check out my other episode reviews for the other comic book related television series.